Welcome to this special Sabbath rock and roll edition of Coffee with yours truly, Dragon. Usually, I do not advertise or sell because I do not get any sponsorship at the moment for any from any entity, corporate or whatever. Otherwise, welcome to the lair of the dragon. We're gonna go for a fast rock and roll. I'm having this cup of coffee. I'm grateful, thankful I was able to afford this coffee on a budget. It was on special, rarely reduced from 5.99 to 3.88. So $2.11 off of it is like 30 some 44% or something like that, maybe percentages less, 33%, whatever have you. And it is great Canadian maple. It has flavor and is rather good, and we're gonna get a little bit of coffee in our system, get a little bit of rock and roll with it. Always got to start, begin, commence with my gratitude. Grateful, thankful that my rent's paid, electricity bills paid, got food and coffee, and yes, April's coming, so electricity bills got to be paid again, and of course the rent's got to be paid again. So I budgeted in a way that I will be able to pay my electricity bill and paid my rent concordantly. So I paid my rent and have a little bit of food and a little bit of budget for the food because food is essential after rent, and electricity bill will be paid in April. April 1st coming ASAP today. It is the 30th of March. Yours truly, the great North American Eclipse on the menu. Rock and roll. Thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, all involved in the production and the distribution of food. Yours truly, Aspies with amnesia, double A, rah, 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 retrograde amnesia, and artist and athlete, philosopher, geopolitical analyst, and theorist, philosopher, and of course, to go overtime every time 24/7 for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. We love our firefighters, love our butchers, love our bakers, love our cashier workers, love our cleaning workers, love our public workers of the great collective North American civilization, love our truckers, love our carpenters, love our butchers, love our electricians, LOVs with action. Yours truly put on the table XYZ, the people's artist and athlete for the collective North American civilizational complex. We're rock and roll 24/7, grateful, thankful, rent paid, and we're gonna have some of these to finish up from Tim Hortons. Price went up a little bit on a six, but got from me and my anonymous sister friend, greatest woman I know. If I make a million, gonna give her half. Got these little bits, half of these, of course, from donuts and a Roussette, and of course another donut right there from Canadian local. When I say local, usually I refer to North America, but from Tim Hortons, so we're gonna get a little bit of cup of coffee. Cheers to all on the road, the farmers, the butchers, the truckers, North American complex, and of North America crossing going east, west, north, south on this Saturday. I celebrate my own way, Telemic with Thelema, my version of course, Easter and holidays are rock and roll, rainbow, dragon style. But since I survived COVID 4 years ago, back in February, March 2020, I take a carpe diem and celebrate every day with gratitude and being open for business. And I philosophize, and of course, I do workout, train, exercise, which I encourage you all to work out, train, exercise. Working out, training, and exercising has been, is, and will continue to be my medicine and therapy of choice. And I will sip a cup of coffee. It's got a flavor, got maple, Canadian maple flavor. So did not add any other milk, or I don't have milk. I have chocolate milk. I have some sugar. So plenty of food. Can't complain. Rent's paid, electricity bills paid. Got food and coffee. I was able to get it on a special. I got calculated, but I will say a little bit of a complaint because usually the coffee that I got last year, even I got it back in February, March last year for first time. So it's been more than like 13 months. The first time that I got a brand of coffee, the most affordable on the market in terms of how much weight. It was a 925 grams coffee, ground, medium ground. It was, of course, I'm not gonna say the name because I don't get sponsors label or whatever have you. But if you're financially struggling, you probably know which one I was referring to. It was 6.99, a regular price 6.99, regular price 6.99. And then last year November, when I went to buy it again, which I did, November or October maybe, or even September, I bought the same one. It went from 6.99 to 8.99. So $2 increase in terms of proportion by percentages is a big increase nonetheless. So prices are increasing. We got a budget, and today made a donation myself of only what I could afford it because I budgeted and I strictly on the Rhine, already in the red, but my rent will be paid, electricity will be paid for the month of April. So April Mondays, April 1st already, so I'm gonna have to pay my rent in 48 hours, which I will. And my electricity bills, I never missed on my rent or electricity bill, super important. And of course, I'm broke, financially struggling, precarious situation, but I'm rich. Rich in kisses, got by the trillions of kisses, rock and roll, some push-ups, some vigor with it, and some theories, and Aspies. We got our obsessions of interest, and I got Asperger's, and of course, it's something which during the past years I managed because there's no medication for Asperger's. But of course, we got symptoms, and my symptoms are, of course, repeating things, having gestures, and being obsessed about certain interests. And my obsessions are geopolitics, or the study of geopolitical analysis and theory. And I'm a geopolitical analyst and theorist, 24/7 geopolitical analysis and theory. And of course, fitness, sports, dancing is my favorite sport, and I'm a people's athlete. I'm an independent athlete, fitness captain, and still on a fitness journey, which began more than 6 years ago when I was depressed and suicidal, 2017. And after an event which got me out of being depressed, and I've conquered depression and being suicidal since, due to that event when I crossed Canada coast to coast, because I said to myself, how many things to see, to do, to write rock and roll songs, children's books, and see, and so much things to see here in my country, Canada, and of course across North America to see and to do. And I got started working out, training, and exercise, and I'm working out, training, and exercising ever since. And I've created my own workout training program system. And financially struggling but grateful, I'm gonna get good food and got internet connection access and everything like that. So we gotta take our own gratitude with it. So because gratitude and civilizational complex is something that it's going to get us to have a little bit of privileges of civilization. Civilization is a privilege. And the electricity, gotta give shout out and salutations to the Hydro Quebec workers, gonna sing some rock and roll for them to build some more dams. And gotta give also the meditation that of course it is clean, zero pollution, zero energy. I'm utilizing this electricity connected all the way to the dams which were built in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s, the 90s, and all the way now to been open in the complex La Romaine a few months ago, last year, 7 months ago already, June. A new complex La Romaine was built, and gotta salute our Hydro Quebec, our firefighters, our butchers, our bakers. And I'm doing this video now which can be seen perhaps by one or none, and one or none, one or none, or a million or a billion, of course, whatever the case may be. Would rather go viral on my dance videos because I dance for Hydro Quebec workers, for the farmers I dance, for the butchers I dance, for the firefighters I dance, for the electricians I dance, for the plumbers I dance, for the farmers I dance. Food security starts with our farmers and those producing food. And I'm a centrist. I believe in public-private partnership. And when I say support the dream, my dream manifesting as the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, vice versa, the empire, which I'm laying the foundation with 718 trillions of kisses, 718 trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion, so it's 718 trillions. It's 718 418 1560993 930. So that's a lot of billions, a lot of millions of kisses, which I got first and foremost to all my willingly living allies and armies. Pledge your allegiance, legions, thou art family. Rock and roll 24/7 for the butchers, farmers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, firefighters on the road, and the electricians and the plumbers, and of course our men in uniform, KF, and security and service, and support the initiative of the Dragan Army, blah blah blah. I'm calling all willing living the great North American eclipse on the menu today. And we're gonna switch to that French because we're in La Belle Province. You're gonna have to advance about half an hour or so, and we're gonna get to rock and roll with that French because here in Quebec, being a Quebecer Canadian, we made the great linguistic compromise, what I call, of course, in my philosophies and my theories, the great North American linguistic compromise for the French language, to have continuity, harmony, and equilibrium and balance, so that we have continuing harmony and equilibrium and balance. So I ask all my brothers and sisters to make an effort, learn some French. And the only way I know how is by persuasion, and persuade them by listening to some Celine Dion songs, to some of my rock and roll, or to culture and arts. And that's the way that I go about it, by business, being an athlete, an artist, and a philosopher, and a thinker, a North American athlete, artist, and philosopher, and geopolitical analyst and theorist. Although I believe in reincarnations and past lives, was born twice in the USA that way, post 7076. I've served twice, 2 times in the U.S. Army. You heard that correct. When I was born in the USA post 1776, I served both those times in my previous past lives and incarnations. I've served those past times in the United States Army. So here we got to get that public-private partnership, Dragon Army, which I'm calling all to support the initiative and the plans based on my philosophies for the 21st century, and in a more centrist way. As I am a centrist. The Rainbow Dragon is a public-private partnership advocate, my dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, which of course it is pro labor and love, and of course which is with a rather rainbow rock and roll dance, as I like to dancing being my favorite sport. The Great North American Eclipse. A lot of discussions about it, a lot of online discussions. The Great North American Eclipse is coming, of course, in a few days, 9 days, whatever, on Monday, the 8th of April. If you're a Telemite, you know that that's a special date for those spiritual seekers out there. And I'm a mystic. I don't claim to have all the answers. I'm a universal spiritual teaching student, meaning that I have so many things that I do not know. I have questions. I do say in my spirituality, goddess, the goddess GODDSS, and that's gonna be theme of the Great North American Eclipse, as I am calling all to support the building. If I want to build something before I depart, to turn my into ashes and spread me down about the river here on the mountain, Mount Royal, and send some to those pyramids. But nonetheless, if I do want to build something, I want to build a forgotten goddess temple, but which still dances with her brother the sun, which still dances with her brother the sun, which still dances with her brother the sun. And again, I don't claim to have knowledge of all the spiritual realms and the spiritual entities and the god goddess and all that. I am a piece of dust, a lusting, getting moody piece of dust, but no longer depressed and suicidal. I've conquered being depressed and suicidal. Conquer being depressed and suicidal, and it's super important to have gratitude and being grateful, you know. And sometimes I still get moody. I feel. I saw just the other day, just to give you an example, you know, that because we have our lower self. So I went to do to get something to for me and a friend to have something to eat and to balance my budget, to check my bank account, and to make sure that I do not overspend and spend every penny and whatever have you. So I went to do a little bit of shopping today, and I got only the necessity. I was actually looking for a specific item with coffee filters. If you really want to know details, coffee filters. I ran out of coffee filters, so I went to get some coffee filters. So that was the specific interest. And then I saw a cups, some soda was half price because now the price went up, so it's 144. So I got one of those, and I got some sweets on the budget. So I said that's it, that's all rock and roll. But I saw a new place on Monkland here in NDG, Monkland in Montreal, Hawk Island, Montreal, aka Hawk Island, big metropolis city. I live in the second biggest, most populated, 2.5 million people just on the island, because where I live, it's a big island. Six, Betty, at six. At six, yeah. Six is good, perfect. Thank you. Dinner at six. Greatest woman I know. If I make a million, billion, gonna give her a half. And I got love for you, Swift. I'm a Swifty. But my anonymous friend, which I call sister, deserves to be seven times number after six, number after six before he's seven times richer. And Taylor Swift, Oprah, Beyonce, although I got love for all of you, and I'm financially struggling, broke, but I'm rich in rock and roll songs and open for business as an artist, struggling artist, philosopher. That Aspie with amnesia, retrograde amnesia, and I just remember moving to a better place, which is here, and went from a place where it was moldy and mold, and I don't know, it's just my memory. I don't know. Maybe I did. Who knows what kind of drugs I did or whatever? But I don't do drugs now. I actually have cannabis, legal cannabis, correct? Legal because it's legal in Canada. I'm of course 18 plus, and well, I'm a millennial, but of course mold, whatever the cause may be. But I remember mostly the past years and struggles, and one foot in the streets, one foot in the libraries, and read tens of thousands of books, written tens of thousands of pages of philosophy, poetry, analysis, biblical studies, analysis, civilizations, and geopolitics, which is my obsessions. Because people with Asperger's, you know, we have our obsessions. Aspies, less than 1 out of 300, less than 1 out of 300, less than 1 out of 300 has Asperger's, right? So Aspies were obsessed about certain interests. My interest is geopolitics, sports. Dancing is my favorite sport, although I love boxing, push-ups, and everything to do with fitness and hockey, women's hockey and boxing, and all those sports which I do enjoy. The sports, women's hockey rocks. I wish I could give them a check or whatever, get some encouragement, rock and roll for the women's hockey leagues, and dancing for them as a, of course, I'm a great supporter of women's basketball and women's sports leagues. And I just wish that we make a little bit more of that money, you know. But what is money to buy, sell? But anyways, one of my obsessions also is the study of civilizations and public hygiene. So we Aspies got those obsessions, and when we discuss those or analyze or study those, we're very focused, as I am when you see my workout videos. When I work out, train, exercise, I'm super in it and super dedicated. When I created my own workout training program system. But anyways, back to the topic at hand because I digressed, to give a look that we have our lower self. So I was going on monthly and I saw a new place. It said special massage therapy, therapeutic massage parlor, like a specialized massage therapy. So I was craving. I said, I'm gonna afford it. Of course, I already knew, even if I wouldn't check my bank account, that I'm not gonna be able to afford it. So I said, wish I could get a massage, but I'm offering all my allies and armies, blah 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 blah. My allies and armies who want to can exchange friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only, friends with benefits only policy, or just business and for the collective North American civilization. Because really, all I know is really Montreal, Quebec, Canada. As much as I am a world citizen for world peace, I really know North America, Canada, Quebec, Montreal, the most, for world peace. But pretty much all I know is the island and my past lives, incarnations across the world, and in the USA, born in South America, Central America, and right here in this island. Was born several times in past lives, but I really know in this past years much a struggle, but now getting better, better, better with working out, training, and exercising. And I encourage and I am calling for the mass financing of citizens to be mass financed across the collective North American civilizations, for citizens to be encouraged to work out, to train, and to exercise, which has been, is, and will be my medicine and therapy choice. So again, I digress, but back to the story. So I saw that new place was open. I said, I can't afford it. So felt a bit, But then I said, oh, you know what? Finance the farmers, the nurses, millionaires, billionaires. Finance the nurses, the farmers. Finance the nurses, the farmers, millionaires, billionaires. Finance the nurses, public nurses, and farmers, and finance demo massage therapy sessions. Because they nurses and the doctors, public nurses, and the firefighters, and they deserve it more than more than myself. So a little bit of selfish, and then an altruistic, because I'm not totally altruistic. I cannot say that I'm totally for the other without self. I have a little bit of self, but I try to a little bit of the ego and the self and the other. It's always a work in the middle. It's always a harmonious interplay, or less or more harmonious. But yes, I do have the lower self, the more selfish. We have it, and it's not to let us dominate our psyche, our actions, and our everyday life, right? Not to dominate us entirely. It's always a work in progress, but sometimes it's hard to admit. And like I always admit that myself, brothers and sisters, I do have aggression. I have aggression, but my brothers and sisters, I channel it, I sublimate it. I work out, I train, I exercise. I work out, I train, I exercise. I work out, I train, I exercise. I work out, I train, and I exercise. It's working out, training, and exercising to channel. And just like sexuality, it needs to be channeled properly and do take an action and to heal. To channel and sublimate are two keywords of my psycho-sexual or psycho-spiritual dictums or mottos. To sublimate and channel. To sublimate and channel, because I have them in myself and recognize them, and then to work to refine character traits and whatever have you. It's a work in, I guess it's a lifetime of work, but it's work in progress 24/7. So many things I don't know. Science I know. In a parallel life I'm a super scientist. I code, build satellites, supercomputers, ICBM rockets, and inter satellites, microchips, and smartphones, and all that in a parallel life where I'm a super scientist. In this life, I'm a super geopolitical analyst and theorist, super dancer, super civilizational study and philosopher, and of course, somebody who's a bit perhaps super obsessed about public hygiene in public. So yeah, I get dirty, but I get back clean, and I do open carry my disinfectant, because there's my microbes, bacteria, germs, bacteria, and germs. There are microbes, bacteria, and germs. So we always got to be to our diligence, of course, to wash our hands. And for example, when I went to the bank, of course, I pressed those buttons, and I don't know how many people before me were there. When was the last time that was clean and swiped with disinfectant? So personal hygiene, public hygiene, it's always an interplay between the private and the public. Now I am in my private layer. When I step outside, go to the mountain often to do volunteering work, and there and meditate and rock roll, and my vlogs, of course, which I only have a laptop, but sometimes we got to work with the tools we're given. So I'm working with the laptop. Sometimes I guess we got to work with the tools that we're provided, we're given, and I'm doing the videos with the laptop. And sometimes people ask, "What are you doing with the laptop? What's going on?" I think I'm whatever. I'm recording. I'm doing my vlogs, my rock and roll meditative vlogs, dedicated, of course, my marches and rock and roll march dancing workouts to specific sector of the civilization of North American complex, or the collective North American civilizational complex, as I do believe that North Americans, we can unite more and do something similar in terms of the finance like they did in Europe, and create a currency and call my own theory the DRT for the creation of the UE. It's a solution, which paradox, whatever, where we are in terms of the public finance. I do believe that my solution is the best solution at the moment in time, and to create two complementary, covenant, and cooperative new institutions in the 21st century, and infused, amalgamated from existing ones, and to have take a course of action for the 21st century. Well, of course, myself admitting that I'm in, without faults, without, at some things I am myself mediocre, at some things I'm myself average, at some things I am myself so-so. Well, I am so-so, average, and mediocre at some things. I am great, super, and excellent at some other things. Dancing, I'm the best, and I know my geopolitics and geopolitical analysis and theory 24/7, and of course I'm always analyzing the news and read tens of thousands of pages on geopolitics and philosophy and whatever have you, and of course spirituality and civilizational studies and complex and whatever the case may be, on all things of science, and a little bit of science with it, but not, it's not my forte, science, although I'm more in philosophy and geopolitics and art, athletics than XYZ. But nonetheless, we have the lower self, myself included. So it's like analyze my own feelings and thoughts when I passed by that massage therapy parlor, a new parlor. I said, I wish I could. I was craving, I said, how much it cost? Probably 80 minimum or 100 plus per hour. So I said, well, forget it. I'm gonna pay my rent, paid my electricity bill. It's coming in 3 days, April 1st. So I gotta be attentive to prioritize paying rent, paying electricity, and paying and getting food and coffee. I got food. I got, so I'm good for a few weeks. If I stretch it out, even if I don't buy anything, I could be good for at least 40 days. At least 40 days with everything that I have. If I trim it down, but with my workouts and everything, I do have more caloric intake, and I do take more calories intake with working out, training, and exercising. Which is a lifestyle which I've been engaged and will continue to engage in, whatever, on a daily. I always say my fitness journey begins today now, and I just finished a more than 2 hours walking pace, marching pace, walking pace, strong march, strong walking pace today, 2 hours. But then I say now that I can substitute. I can be grateful, thankful that although can afford that massage therapy session, I can take a bath tonight or tomorrow morning. I can tomorrow afternoon, whenever. Monday, Easter, Monday, Easter, Monday, Easter, Monday, take a bath, take a long bath. I can stay in a bath for at least an hour, minimum an hour, half an hour, even 2 hours. You know, take a bath, substitute. I'm working out, cannot afford a massage therapy, but I got hot water. Thank you, Hydro Quebec. Thank you, those who build the boiler with heating water of brains and muscle. North American Great Eclipse. So we're gonna first do some reading from the Wikipedia. We're gonna bear with me. We're gonna switch a little bit to the French, but we're gonna have to be a little bit on the analysis, and the analysis, which of course has the preclusion of analyzing geopolitical events and having whatever have you on the rock and roll side of things, and I am rock and roll philosopher, artist, athlete, geopolitical analyst, and theorist who rocks and roll for the butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, firefighters. Love our firefighters, love our butchers, love our bakers, love our nurses, love our doctors, love our electricians, love our plumbers, love our public works, love our those who build the bridges. We gotta salute that. Baltimore, go Baltimore. I was seeing a general or lieutenant general speak about how they're gonna go about it with the U.S. Army of Corps of Engineers. So I was imagining myself being immersed there, and perhaps a contingent of the Dragan Army, integrate North American citizen, how we're gonna be able to do such a thing, and how we're gonna go about it. To go about it, being some help after the Baltimore bridge collapse. But of course, it's a collapse due to a ship, cargo ship striking the bridge. So, but as I marched last 2 3 days ago, and I marched, and I'm gonna raise my cup to those who build the public bridges. We got so many bridges because Montreal's an island, big island metropolis, Hawk Island, HAWK, surrounded by 2.5 million people. I mean, on the island, the population just on the island is about 2.5 million. Second biggest city in Canada, eighth in North America, so top 10 in North America in terms of population and big metropolis. A big metropolis island. The island is a metropolis, Hawk Island, HAWK, and of course, surround got a lot of bridges, and I don't know how many exactly, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bridges, 11 bridges, maybe even more. Total. Not just south or north, but north and south and roundabout, because they're mostly north and south, right? The extremes east is kind of different bridges connecting to the smaller islands surrounding the island of Montreal, but nonetheless, those who build the bridges of North America, big rock and roll for you, and meditated how all those brains and muscle, to get a little bit of that bridge and so the solar eclipse of April 8th, 2024. So I see it as a good omen, myself, a good omen. So God will meet the goddess. God will dance with the goddess. I say that in a spiritual sense, you know. So I mean, the sun. I mean, in many ways, of course, there's interplay, sun and moon, and we got a little bit of each. Myself, I am androgynous. I'm androgynous. I'm because I'm androgynous and gay, pansexual, whatever, pansexual, gay, pansexual, androgynous, gay, pansexual. Whatever the case may be, and that's just a part of me being also a philosopher, an artist, and a geopolitical analyst and theorist, and who rocks and roll in that center, taking that left and the right in the center for the public-private partnership for the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom. Support a dream, support a dream, support a dream for the collective North American civilizational complex rebirth and defense, coast to coast, coast to coast, ocean to ocean, coast to coast, ocean to ocean for that LOV, and encouraging all to work out, train, exercise, and gratitude. I want to hear on those radio waves more LOV for the truckers, the bakers, the butchers, the nurses. Some salutations, some encouragement for citizens to work out, and for some public hygiene, and for the public workers. I'm gonna give a salutation to those public workers who pick up the garbage every week, pick up the recycling, pick up the compost. I did work in a few years ago, 2018 or something like that, on the compost. I was part of compost work here. Those I distributed, knocked door to door, distributed the bins, and distributed, of course, the pamphlets and the information. So I had a contract for a few weeks, so that was a good experience. So I know compost from that experience here with the local public. So it's important to get the public, and of course the public, the public and the private together, and we gotta encourage more to do better composting and better recycling. And it's always for Mother Nature and the environment. It's always an individual action to be balanced with the collective, and the public and the private to be in harmony, equilibrium, and balance. It's always something which is we strive for on a daily, on a weekly, on a short, medium, long term plan. The Great North American Eclipse. And this is another mystic point, that it's North America, and I always say so North Americans unite for years, for years, for years. And my Mexican brothers and sisters, I gotta give a little bit of interjection now, because somebody had made a donation for half of the chip bags, and I speak Spanish a little bit. I manage in Spanish, and in my Dragon's Lair is English, French, Spanish, French, English, Spanish, Spanish, English, French. So the language is the main language, because just in Montreal we have many other languages, but as the main official language, I would say, of North America, right? I was having some sobritas. Again, I'm not getting paid or whatever have you, but just because I liked something about what Mexico did here. So you see, here it says Hecho in Mexico. So you see, it's Hecho in Mexico. So these are from Mexico. And usually when I say local, buy local, when I say buy local, I usually refer North America, including Mexico, Canada, US. Or when I say local, it's usually Montreal, Quebec. When I say local, Canada, US. When I say local, it's usually North America, Quebec, Canada, United States, Mexico, because we are North Americans. Mexico is part of North America, right? And we form together a complex, a civilizational complex, which has emerged and is emerging since about the end of the Second World War. And I want to discuss soon, maybe not today, I'm just going to mention it, that I find something very interesting. And of course, as I learn on a daily basis. It's interesting that the Mexico presidential system, they have something that's called sexenio, which the president for the election is limited throughout his lifetime to only have 6 years to serve. Only have 6 years to serve, 6 years to serve, 6 years to serve. So you can see here it says these are made in Mexico, and I kept it because I wanted to check where it is. It says Bosque de Duranos número 67 con el Bosque de las Lomas, Ciudad de Mexico, Ciudad de Mexico, Ciudad. So it's the city of Mexico. This is from the city of Mexico itself, big city, big metropolis, one of the biggest. At one point, it was the most populated in the world. I don't know if it's still number one now, but at one point it was the most populated in the world. But nonetheless, what I want to share here is that I like this what they did here. So see on the label, it says exceso calorías. So that means that the calories, it warns people that it has too many calories in excess for the bag. So that's for the health, for health wise. It also says exceso sodio. So it says that also sodium, it exceeds. So when you consume it, here you're warned, just like on the cigarette label, we have cannabis, which is legal here in Canada. Cannabis is legal, but here it says exceso sodio, right? So this is interesting, and I kind of like this a lot. I said, wow, it's quite something, so that you're aware that it has too much in excess, too much that your intake should be of sodium, and excess calories as well. And she says Secretaria de Salud, Secretaria de Salud, Secretaria de Salud, Secretary of Health, Secretary of Health, the Secretary of Health. So I think that's a very healthy practice. You put right on the front, Secretaria de Salud, meaning the Secretary of Health, translated as Secretary of Health in Mexico. Put that on the label. I gotta say for that, because you know that it's excess of sodium and excess of calories, right? I think we should have something similar here on our chips, something similar here on our chips, something similar like they're having in Mexico. I think it's health progressive. I think it's health progressive, Alright, so I gotta give it a little bit of a well done, well done, well done for the cooperation between the public and the private, because that's private enterprise with the public, right? That's a public-private partnership right there. So the corporation who sells the chips, who build them in Mexico City, in Mexico itself, with the factory, it says right there what is hecho en Mexico, means made in Mexico. And here it says Papa Organa Mexicanos, it says of course to consume before and whatever have you, and of course it shows you how to recycle it, and to put them in the that it's recyclable and what have you, and of course it gives you the thumb up so that it is actually you can recycle it, and you can recycle this. So it says it gives you the address, and of course it puts, because it's a private corporation, it's not the government, it's a private business who sells them, right? Who sells these. But what's interesting is that the Minister of Health has put this right here up, so it tells you from the Secretaria de Salud that it's in excess of sodium. So I just wanted to interject that a little bit right there. So now back to the Great North American Eclipse, as it's dubbed, the Great American Total Solar Eclipse, the Great American Eclipse, and I call it, or some dub it, the Great North American Eclipse, because it will touch Mexico, Canada, US. And I always call for North Americans to unite for implementation of some of my philosophies for the 21st century, because we got that coast to coast, ocean to ocean, right? Mexico, Canada, US, we both share something very unique in the New World. We both have the Pacific to the west and the Atlantic to the east. We both have the Atlantic to the east and the Pacific to the west. We got the Pacific to the west, the Atlantic to the east. So we're both by two oceans. That's the uniqueness of North of the Americas, Myself was a North American, Canadian, Quebecer, and of course we love the Spanish language, and we're gonna hit that dictionary in the coming days. I got a dictionary which I'm gonna do a little bit of rock and roll with, but not today too much. But nonetheless, salud a mis hermanos y hermanas de México, mucho amor y calor. Está más bueno que el eclipse del sol norteamericano. So the Great North American Eclipse, and I take this as a good omen. It's a good omen. There's a lot of more negative stuff out there, but it can be good. Sometimes I've been through suffering, pain, struggle, but I want to change. There's nothing that I want to go back to. I live for today with hope for tomorrow, because we have a tendency within ourselves, to say, oh, back in the days it was this and that better, but was it really? And sometimes change comes to pain, suffering, and myself had my share of suffering, was depressed and suicidal. I've been in the open for years and years and years about my sexuality, being pansexual, androgynous, pansexual. That's just one aspect of me. That's not the only thing I bring to the table. I bring rock and roll. I bring some comedy, some humor, some good French and English rock and roll, and can rock and roll sing some songs in Spanish as well. And of course, I bring some art, some philosophy, and my Trinity of theories, and LOV, and some good loving to my allies and armies. Well, I also want to be loved myself, not just give, but also want to give, receive, and see my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a call for a public-private partnership across what I call the collective North American civilizational complex, or the complex of North American civilization, of which we're a part. So this, oh man, this great North American eclipse is gonna have composing the sun and the moon, because it's the moon and it's a once in a lifetime event. But for me, the significance is also in relation to the spirituality, a new light, sort of. But that light is also part to accept the material and also the feminine, the sacred, divine feminine. I'm gonna go a little bit Da Vinci Code, because I say the word goddess, G-O-D-D-S-S, as the priestess of the goddess, and as a founder of the Dancing Goddess Army, that DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, Dancing Goddess Army, as I will be created as a public-private partnership. I say the word goddess, Mother Nature who dances with the birth of the sun, and the moon representing sometimes the ancient goddesses, right? Artemis, Isis, and all the names, and the goddesses, and the goddesses of ancient, and now the goddess, the reawakening of the my spirituality, the goddess, also nature in its forms and multiple forms, and but nonetheless, the more, and also the psychic, the irrational component, right? Because we got, myself included, irrational fears, irrational lusts, which sometimes move us in ways which we cannot find by we hear a word can trigger us in ways, right? Words can trigger us, black, white, red, big, small, tiny, and mediocre, average, so strong. They can trigger, can not all the different words or one word, many words can trigger people, or phrases, sentences. We have it in us, the irrational fears and lust, whatever. If you are so to fight such things as racism, we want to put some action. I'm willing to offer hugs, kisses, tickles, rock and roll to all my allies and armies, and if I do business, to be as fair as can be, by balancing the individual and the collective, not to be to the detriment, the individual not to be to the detriment of the collective, and the collective not to oppress the individual. That's 21st century. As 20th century was full of extreme left, extreme right, extreme right, extreme left, extreme left, extreme right, extreme right, extreme left, extreme left, extreme right. Full of it, dimensions, right? Security and liberty. Not to have too security has to be balanced in harmony with liberty. Liberty, freedom has to be ensured. You gotta talk to freedom. But freedom is a very new thing, It's myself solo by myself. I cannot fight the fight of freedom. It's very few of us can actually fight for freedom, myself excluded. I'm not there yet. I'm a work in progress, because freedom is, you gotta have housing, a shelter, food. You gotta have some other things of civilization as well. Civilization is a privilege. Civilization is a privilege. As a people's doctor, that was my thesis back in 2023 when I presented it to the people, my thesis. But nonetheless, now going a little bit on the mystic, I'm gonna read what's here on Wikipedia, the total eclipse, just the information about it, just a little bit to say, a little bit, not too much, but just to have a brief aperçu. A total solar eclipse from Wikipedia. A total solar eclipse will take place at the moon's ascending node on Monday, April 8, 2024, visible across North America, and dubbed the Great North American Eclipse. So if I'm a North American, actually, can see it there, but I have the Mexican flag there because I like the eagle and the snake. I love snakes. I like snakes and eagles and hawks and what have you. But of course, I do. It's right there. It's Mexican with the Canadian and United States flag. If you want to see, I'm gonna show you a little bit. And here, see, I do have the Mexican and the Canadian flag in the back. I mean, Quebec flag and the see. the US and the Mexican flag right there. So do rock and roll, North American style, you know, and, with the Quebec, of course, always Quebec, you know, and being a Quebecer Canadian who's not perfect, far from it. I was gonna do some reading now from the the page here. The Great North American Eclipse, or the Great American Eclipse, but I prefer Great North American Eclipse by some of the media. So different names, a lot of different names here. A solar eclipse occurs when the moon passes between the earth and the sun, thereby obscuring the image of the sun for a viewer on earth. A total solar eclipse occurs when the moon's apparent diameter is larger than the sun's, blocking all direct sunlight, turning day into darkness. Totality occurs only in a narrow path across Earth's surface, with a partial solar eclipse visible over a surrounding region thousands of kilometers wide. Wow. So this is a good omen. And if you're a Telemite, you know that that holy day is very holy, holy, holy. The 8th, the ninth, and the 10th. I'm a wannabe Telemite. I'm a wannabe Telemite. I'm not there yet, but it's a work in progress. So many things, mystic stuff and spiritual stuff of the high grade level. And I'm still a beginner. I can't even draw a circle. You know, I can just rock and roll. Will, WAL, circles, circles, circles. All my allies and armies, spiritual leaders, thou art fam. But nonetheless, if you do know that first chapter of the Book of the Law, there's a reference to the stars, stars, stars. So the sun is just a star among many. So there's multiple good omens here because we're gonna be an eclipse, but we can able to see the stars. How many stars? That starlight. Because now there's stars, stars, stars. Heaven, so many stars. Stars, count stars, man. Wow, so many stars. Cause wow, it's like wow, you know. So trillions of stars. So many stars. It's just sun among the stars. So this double the eclipse, special, very rare occurrence. It's a good omen for good transformation for us to get in North America, and I believe also for myself, for you, for us. And I hope somebody will support a dream right here from Hawk Island, Montreal. My dream, the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, the empire, the North American Democratic Republic for the public-private partnership. Which, when I say the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom, fundamentally it's a call for a public-private partnership. North America first, and then with NATO, salute, 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 and all willingly loving in the foremost, but first and foremost across what I call the collective North American civilizational complex across North America, right? So we got we got a lot of work, myself, public works, infrastructure, bridges to rebuild, highways to rebuild. We got work, public and the private 21st century. So, occurring only one day after perigee on Sunday, April 7, 2024, the moon's apparent diameter will be 5.5 larger than average, with a magnitude of 1.0566. Its longest duration of total will be 4 minutes and 28.13 seconds, near the Mexican town Nazas, Durango, so in Mexico, about 4 miles 6 kilometers north, and thereby nearby city of Torreon in Coahuila. This eclipse will be the first total solar eclipse to be visible in the provinces of Canada since February 26, 1979. See, I'm learning. This eclipse will be the first total solar eclipse to be visible in the provinces of Canada. Quebec is a province of Canada, right? Since February 26, 1979. This eclipse will be the first total solar eclipse to be visible in the provinces of Canada since February 26, 1979. This eclipse will be the first total solar eclipse to be visible in the province of Canada since February 26, 1979. So February 26, that makes in more than 44 years, more than 44, more than 44, 45 years, right? 79, 2024 minus February, more than 45 already, more than 45 years and 2 months, right? And 1 month, almost 40, 45 years and 44 days, 45 years and 44 days later, 45 years and 44 days, something like that, to be precise, maybe a day or less more. In Canada, this eclipse will be the first total solar eclipse to be visible in the province of Canada since February 26, 1979, the first in Mexico since July 11, 1991, and the first in the US since August 21st, month of Leo 2017. It will be the only total solar eclipse in the 21st century where totality will be visible in Mexico, the United States, and Canada. It will also be the last solar eclipse visible in the contiguous United States until August 23rd, 2044. It will be the only total solar eclipse in the 21st century where totality will be visible in Mexico, United States, and Canada. That's why I say for years and years and years, we say North Americans unite. I think it's time. It's a good omen for North America if we come together. North America, we gotta find some solution coast to coast with everything that's going on in the world geopolitically. North Americans unite. And interestingly enough, both the presidents of US and Mexico are Scorpios. Scorpios. Astrological sign Scorpio. Both Joe Biden is a Scorpio, born on the sign of Scorpio, and the president of Mexico is also born under the sign of Scorpio. So that's another good omen. Justin Trudeau, I believe, is Justin Trudeau. I'm a bit embarrassed, but I'm gonna check. Gonna have to check now because I'm a bit embarrassed. I did know, but it's not coming to me now. So it's December. So like Sagitt is a Capricorn, right? December 25th is a Capricorn. December 25th is a Capricorn. So all the signs have different strengths and weaknesses, and they balance each other, right? It's not one sign that's bad or negative. It has potentials for different things and different things of civilization and nature. So that's how I see it. So, anyways, but that's interesting. So once again, it will. This is the most one of the most important things. So it'll be the only total solar eclipse in the 21st century, which we are now, 21st century, where totality will be visible in Mexico, the United States, and Canada. It will be the only total solar eclipse in the 21st century where totality will be visible in Mexico, the United States, and Canada. It will be the only total solar eclipse in the 21st century where totality. Let's build a goddess temple in the House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon dancing for North America. Americans. We're North Americans. Quebecers, Canadians. We can make it. If the European Union made the euro, we can make the UE. If the European made the euro, we can make the UE. If the European Union made the euro, we can make the UE. The Universal Exchange Unit. See the dream. North Americans unite. Wow. Que podemos juntos. Podemos juntos las grandes cosas de aquí de norteamericanos, mis hermanos, hermanas. Podemos juntos. El momento de 21 siglo de Norteamérica por la paz, la luz, la prosperidad, la prosperity, salute, health, and regeneration, rebirth. North America. Public-private partnership. Partenariat public-privé. Anyways, it will be the only total solar eclipse in the 21st century where totality will be visible in Mexico, the United States, and Canada, right? So that's a good omen again. So this is what I'm going to read from. I just read from Wikipedia. I'm not going to read some more, but that's where we're going to be ending on that. So it's a good omen. One point, the psycho-spiritual natures, right? The rain to accept the divine feminine, also not just spiritually, mystically, but also psychologically, right? Our sisters, to have that equality and the liberty, the freedom, the 21st century, which has been a work in progress, right? It also has to be met spiritually, to get the balance and more harmony. Because although the moon will block the sun, it will get also the light, and it takes both matter and energy, matter and energy, matter and energy. Right? Matter is not bad in itself, it's not negative, right? The material life is not bad, it's not bad. It takes two to tango, it takes civilization and nature. And this eclipse will also be that we think about also the stars, right? The stars, and how we can bring public-private partnership and the harmony with nature and civilization, and to have that defense in this potential World War III scenario, potential World War III, potential World War III, which I predicted back in 2019. I have to say that I did predict the situation now. So, anyways, we're gonna switch it to that French because we're in La Belle Province. I just want to say I'm grateful, thankful that my rent's paid for the month of March. Soon in 3 days, April 1st already. So I have to pay it again. My electricity bill's paid, rent's paid, got food, coffee, and grateful, thankful, got these donuts here from which I'm gonna enjoy and take a little bit of that, but we're gonna have to say rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, bakers. Love our firefighters, love our bakers, love our nurses, love our doctors, love our cooks, love our electricians, love the plumbers, love the truckers, love the public workers picking up, changing the aqueducts, the potholes across North Americans. North Americans unite 24/7 rock and roll, and we love our bakers, love our butchers, love our cooks, love our doctors, love our public transportation in the buses, in the subways, the metro system, the train conductors, big LOV to the train conductors, and so on and so forth. And we're gonna switch to that French rock and roll. Bienvenue dans la grotte du Dragon Arc-en-Ciel. Là, on va vous parler un peu de l'Eclipse nord-américaine que je viens, mais avant tout, je vais dire ma gratitude. Mon loyer payé pour le mois de mars, ma facture d'électricité aussi, puis j'ai du café, puis du thé en plus. Je me suis acheté le café que vous voyez ici, à l'érable, à saveur du pays, le grand du Canada. Et du bon érable, ça sent vraiment bon. Puis, j'ai pas besoin de mettre du sucre ni du lait dedans parce que ça a déjà une saveur. Puis, aujourd'hui, je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. Sinon aujourd'hui, demain, sinon après-demain. Mais quand vous commencez, je vous suggère puis je vous encourage à faire l'entraînement physique. C'est vraiment ma médecine et thérapie de choix. Et bien sûr, la gratitude de soutenir votre artiste Aspies avec amnésie rétrograde. Puis, athlète, philosophe qui dans sa grotte de dragon puis ouvre ses portes sur l'internet. Je dois dire ma gratitude à l'Hydro-Québec, pour lequel je chante, parce que c'est grâce au travail du passé 40, des années 40, 50, 60, 70. Et en 2023, on a ouvert le nouveau complexe, la romaine d'Hydro-Québec. Fait que c'est à cause de l'Hydro-Québec que j'ai la lumière en haut de ma tête, puis que j'ai mon ordinateur, puis je suis en train de faire cette vidéo artistique, philosophique un peu, avec un peu de comédie, puis ben du rock'n'roll, que je peux le faire pour l'Hydro-Québec. Fait que c'est toujours important pour moi de méditer et de dire ma gratitude, même si je suis en crise financière, une situation financière précaire. Je suis riche en bisous, château et câlins, puis avec des idées de cinéma. Vous venez me voir pour des idées de cinéma, pour du dialogue un peu comique, philosophique, même spirituel un peu, puis même avec du discernement puis du raisonnement. Mais je ne suis pas parfait, votre dragon arc-en-ciel. Je ne suis pas parfait, loin de là. Dans certaines choses, je suis médiocre, comme ci, comme ça. Et pas si bon dans d'autres choses, mais en géopolitique, parce que c'est une de mes obsessions, avoir l'Asperger's, puis nous, les Aspies, on est moins qu'un sur 300, 1 sur 300, même pas 1 sur 300, moins de 0,44%, même pas 1% de la population du monde n'ont pas l'Asperger's, mais il n'y a pas de médicament pour l'Asperger's, c'est juste gérer mes symptômes, c'est pas répéter 2-3 fois la même chose, les mêmes phrases, puis ne pas être trop obsédé par certains sujets, car certains citoyens n'ont pas les mêmes obsessions d'intérêt obsessifs que moi-même, comme la géopolitique, le sport, la danse c'est mon sport préféré, puis bien sûr l'entraînement physique, et bien sûr les analyses, les études de civilisation, surtout les civilisations anciennes, puis bien sûr, comme je vous ai dit en tant que philosophe, que nous autres, les Nord-Américains, à l'Union de l'Amérique du Nord, Québécois québécoise, on a fait le grand compromis linguistique, ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique du français, pour qu'on continue à avoir l'harmonie puis la paix. Puis moi, la manière que je le fais, c'est par l'art, par le rock'n'roll, comme Céline, un peu bilingue comme mon premier ministre. Aujourd'hui, le samedi, ça va, on va discuter de l'Eclipse de l'Amérique du Nord. Puis moi, je veux dire en tant que guide spirituel universel, qui étudie aussi, parce que j'ai pas toutes les réponses, il y a tellement de choses que je ne sais pas, mais je dis le mot déesse, le mot de la déesse, merci. Ça par les bisous, les châteaux et les câlins qu'on lit jusqu'aux archanges, que soit le ciel bleu avec du rock'n'roll. La grande éclipse nord-américaine, ça s'appelle le 8 avril. Ça s'en vient le 8 avril, ça s'en vient l'éclipse de l'Amérique du Nord, qu'on va pouvoir voir ensemble, puis à travers l'Amérique du Nord, puis c'est la première éclipse au Canada depuis le 29 février 1979. Ça fait plus que 45 ans qu'il n'y a pas eu d'éclipse visible au Canada, dans les provinces du Canada. C'est quand même intéressant, puis ça va être la seule et unique éclipse visible à travers le Mexique, le Canada, puis les États-Unis, à travers l'Amérique du Nord. Vous savez que je vous ai parlé, bien sûr, en tant que philosophe, que nous autres, on constitue, Canada, Québec, Mexique, puis les îles aussi, bien sûr, on constitue ce que j'appelle un complexe de civilisation nord-américaine, où l'Amérique du Nord forme ensemble, en termes de vue politique, social, puis géographique, un complexe civilisationnel, soit un amalgame d'un complexe de civilisation, une civilisation nord-américaine, mais qui est émergente depuis à peu près la Deuxième Guerre mondiale, depuis les dernières décennies, puis ça continue à émerger. Puis je dis souvent, nord-américain, canadien, québécois, québécois, canadien, nord-américain. Puis bien sûr, je crois à la réincarnation. 2 fois, j'ai servi dans l'armée des États-Unis après que je suis né aux États-Unis, après 1776. Après l'indépendance, j'étais né 2 fois aux États-Unis comme j'étais né ici à Montréal, ou juste au bas de, proche de, ou la montagne, ma deuxième maison, le Mont-Royal, j'étais né proche de McGill, puis dans une autre vie, Pearland, puis j'avais aidé Louis Cyr à pousser des chevaux sur une calèche. C'était un événement, un flash que j'ai eu de mes réincarnations, puis bien sûr, mais fondamentalement, en étant aussi, je peux être universel, puis je souhaite la paix dans le monde, mais bien sûr, je suis fondamentalement un Nord-Américain, un Canadien, un Québécois, puis mes expériences, mes connaissances, c'est surtout l'île de Montréal, c'est avoir mes propres souffrances, mes propres luttes que j'ai eues, puis bien sûr avec l'Asperger's, gérer mes symptômes de répétition, puis dans la conversation, faire attention pour ne pas approcher trop proche les gens, ça dans le confort de la proximité, là, la distance personnelle qu'on appelle, puis il faut que je fasse attention à ces choses-là, puis il faut pas que je dérape dans une conversation en géopolitique trop avec les gens qui ne sont pas trop intéressés par la géopolitique, puis les études de civilisation, puis le sport, parce qu'il y en a peut-être d'autres intérêts, les arts ou la science, puis des choses comme ça que peut-être d'autres sont intéressés. Mais c'est l'Asperger, c'est une condition neurologique, puis bien sûr, il n'y a pas de médicaments, mais j'ai mes forces, compétences en géopolitique, parce que 24 sur 24, 24 sur 7, c'est l'analyse en géopolitique dans ma grotte, dans ma grotte de Dragon arc-en-ciel avec le sport, puis avec la gratitude. On salue les pompiers, beaucoup d'amour, hein, les pompiers, les travailleurs publics, et ceux qui sont sur la route, les camionneurs, je les vois bien, d'une manière, nous, et les travailleurs de Québec, ceux qui sont sur l'autoroute, dans les caissiers, les caisses, qui sont sur les caisses, qui sont en train de changer, bien sûr, les services publics qui ramassent les poubelles, le compostage, le recyclage. 3 services chez nous. Le compostage, le recyclage, les poubelles, le compostage, le recyclage. Le recyclage, les poubelles, le compostage. J'ai 3 services publics que je dois saluer et remercier. Puis c'est toujours un partenariat public-privé parce que tout ce que je fais, c'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public dans toutes mes démarches en tant qu'artiste, athlète, philosophe. C'est fondamentalement un appel à un partenariat public-privé à travers l'Amérique du Nord. Quand je dis soutenir mon rêve, le royaume de la déesse et du dragon qui danse, que je fonde principalement avec des milliards de bisous. Bisous, j'en ai, château, j'en ai. Je suis une situation financière précaire, mais je suis ouvert pour les affaires en tant qu'artiste, athlète, philosophe, et bien sûr en tant que tout ce que je fais, des analyses en géopolitique, et philosophe, artiste, athlète, et puis indépendant, Aspies, qui est aussi en dragon arc-en-ciel, mais c'est super important à voir là la gratitude. Donc, encore une fois, gratitude d'aujourd'hui, mon loyer est payé pour le mois de mars, ma facture d'électricité pour l'État Québec aussi payée, puis Go Hydro-Québec Go 24 sur 24, puis aussi, bien sûr, j'ai du café, j'ai du thé, je me suis acheté le café en spécial, 3,98 de 5,99 d'habitude ça coûte, fait que ça a une réduction de 2,11$, fait que c'est quand même 44% à peu près, ou 33%, je ne sais pas exactement, mais la gratitude de l'avoir, puis la nourriture, je vais l'avoir pour ce soir pour le dîner, puis bien sûr, je souhaite bon Pâques. Moi, j'ai ma version de Pâques, bien sûr, Rock&Roll. Puis en tant que guide spirituel universel, bien sûr, je dis le mot la déesse. Puis l'éclipse de l'Amérique du Nord, c'est un bon signe. C'est un bon signe, un bon signe. Et bien sûr, je vais être partie de la Telema. C'est bien sûr un signe spirituel. Pourquoi je dis ça? Mais spirituel et psychologique aussi, et bien sûr dans la nature, dans la sphère de la nature, c'est unique au 21e siècle parce que c'est une éclipse qui va être visible, c'est une éclipse nord-américaine, l'Amérique du Nord, tu sais. Puis nous aussi, on est le nouveau monde, puis on forme ensemble constitue un collectif, puis on a fait le grand compromis, qu'est-ce que j'appelle le grand compromis linguistique pour la continuité de l'harmonie sociale, l'équilibre avec le français. Puis on continue à l'en faire. Puis ma manière, c'est par le rock'n'roll, la culture, puis les arts, puis la comédie un peu aussi. Parce que mon rock'n'roll est plus comédie que d'autres choses, j'imagine. Mais c'est important d'avoir un peu d'humour. Puis des fois, il y a des choses sérieuses, pas sérieuses. Puis bien sûr que j'ai mon propre ego aussi, mais c'est toujours être constamment, puis admettre, puis un travail constant pour que ça soit pour le collectif puis l'individu, pour le collectif puis l'individu, pour l'autre puis pour moi-même aussi, puis avoir une balance, harmonie puis un équilibre. Mais en termes de comment cette éclipse-là est importante, c'est sa seule éclipse solaire totale du 21e siècle qui va être visible au Mexique, au Canada et aux États-Unis, en Amérique du Nord. C'est pour ça que ça s'appelle la grande éclipse nord-américaine. Puis en plus de ça, le côté spirituel, parce que je dis le mot la déesse, Dieu, déesse, déesse et Dieu, la déesse puis le Dieu, c'est bien sûr parce que la lune, c'est représentatif de la matière. Là. Les déesses, l'ancien temps, la déesse, la sœur du soleil, elle danse encore avec son frère pour créer tous les produits alimentaires puis la fertilité, puis le soleil est mon pape, mais ça va être une éclipse solaire. Puis ça indique aussi l'importance des étoiles, parce que le soleil, c'est une étoile parmi des étoiles. L'étoile, les étoiles, sa toile, les étoiles, c'est une étoile. Le soleil. Puis, pour voir combien les étoiles, il y a toute la lumière dans l'espace. Puis aussi représentatif d'une égalité, une harmonie, une balance. Aussi, du point de vue social, tu sais, de nos sœurs, mais avoir l'harmonie entre l'homme et la femme aussi, puis entre, bien sûr, l'égalité aussi de la femme dans tous les aspects de la culture, puis l'intégration dans tous les aspects de notre civilisation, puis la nature, puis le travail constant qu'on a à faire. Tu sais. Puis cette balance, harmonie, équilibre, donc on travaille. Donc on doit travailler ensemble pour, des fois c'est pas facile, mais on doit travailler ensemble. Puis des fois la lune, tu sais, ça signifie pour moi-même aussi le symbole de la déesse, comme la renaissance de la déesse, de la spiritualité féminine. Tu sais. C'est sûr que c'est une question que je n'ai pas toutes les réponses, mais ça se manifeste de différentes manières. Mais bien sûr, en recevant la lumière du soleil, la production de cette nouvelle lumière, si on veut, de cette nouvelle réalité spirituelle, mais qui est embrasse, puis qui englobe aussi la matière, qui englobe aussi, qui nie pas la matière, qui spiritualise aussi la matière, puis qui dit oui à l'être physique aussi, à l'être physique, à l'être physique, au plaisir physique, au plaisir physique, toutes les choses qu'on a du corps, puis du physique, puis de la nature, puis de la matière aussi, la sécurité de la matière, puis l'énergie ensemble, de cette harmonie peut-être qu'on est en train de voir du 21e siècle. On dit le Dieu et la déesse qui dansent ensemble, puis du côté psychique aussi, l'intégration des forces féminines et masculines en une balance, puis en une égalité. Il ne faut pas que ce soit une égalité basée par des forces et des énergies, par des compétences, mais une égalité en harmonie, en équilibre avec les forces complémentaires, parce qu'il ne faut pas que ce soit en contradiction ou en conflit. Ça peut être complémentaire. Il ne faut pas que ce soit en conflit, ça va être complémentaire, des forces complémentaires. Pas nécessairement en conflit, mais complémentaire. Ça complémente. C'est que la déesse n'est pas en conflit avec la lune, n'est pas en conflit avec le soleil, mais c'est une balance, une harmonie. C'est un nouvel équilibre aussi par une action qui se concrétise ici sur Terre, nous, on avance. Parce que c'est ça. En Amérique du Nord, je fais appel à construire le temple de la déesse oubliée, le temple de la déesse oubliée, le temple de la déesse oubliée, par l'arbre aussi. Puis c'est des choses aussi irrationnelles qu'il faut, émotionnelles, irrationnelles qu'on a aussi, qu'il faut toujours raffiner, puis il faut toujours. C'est comme moi-même, je l'avoue moi-même, mes chers citoyens et concitoyens, moi aussi j'ai de l'agression. J'en ai moi aussi l'agression, mais je m'entraîne, je fais l'exercice physique pour faire la sublimation, puis la sublimation, puis la sublimation. Diriger ses forces vers des actions positives et qui sont constructives. L'entraînement physique, je m'entraîne, je fais l'exercice physique, je fais des ponts, je m'en vais à la montagne, je fais du jogging, de l'entraînement physique, des ponts, je m'en vais marcher à la montagne, dans la forêt pour sublimer, puis faire la canalisation, diriger l'agressivité ou même aussi la question de la sexualité aussi, pour ne pas réprimer, mais sublimation. La sublimation vers des activités. Et ces énergies-là sont sont pas négatives, mais il faut les comprendre, puis il faut avec notre propre nature individuelle, puis l'individu que ça soit en balance, en harmonie, en équilibre avec le collectif. Le collectif, ça ne soit pas en détriment de l'individu, opprimer l'individu, puis l'individu, ça n'opprime pas le collectif. Une balance, une harmonie, c'est des questions du 21e siècle qu'on a en tant que partenariat public-privé avec certains imbalances du privé, du public, du privé, corporatif, tous les problèmes qu'on a aujourd'hui, mais j'ai pas toutes les solutions, j'en ai peut-être juste une couple de solutions. Pour moi-même, puis pour l'autre, oui, mais ça, je trouve que ça va être un bon signe spirituel, socio-spirituel. Je le prends comme un bon signe pour l'avancement social, spirituel de l'humanité entière, mais c'est sûr, c'est une grosse éclipse en Amérique du Nord. Au point de vue, en tant que Nord-Américain, on s'unisse, puis on va de l'avance du 21e siècle. par le progrès, puis aussi, par aussi avoir la gratitude pour qu'est-ce qui a été bâti puis construit au 21e siècle. C'est les grandes centrales de l'Hydro-Québec, hein? La grande centrale de l'Hydro-Québec, l'infrastructure, les chemins de fer, Canada, États-Unis, Mexique, le transport public, les gratte-ciels, les métropoles, bien sûr, les aéroports, toutes les fermes, tout ça qui a été. C'est au 20e siècle. Il faut avoir la gratitude, puis après ça, toute la souffrance, puis le malheur, puis toutes ces dernières années difficiles. On va de l'avance, du point de vue social, spirituel, fondamentalement, aussi par un partenariat public-privé, puis en acceptant ces nouvelles énergies, nouvelles libérations, si on veut, on libère d'une manière psychosexuelle aussi, psychosociale, tu sais, ces choses-là. Pas juste parce que moi je fais partie de la communauté LGBTQ, en tant que gay androgène pansexuel androgène gay pansexuel androgène, je me considère androgène, mais vraiment arc-en-ciel, mais c'est par d'autres efforts aussi, puis c'est un effort constamment qu'on doit faire. Aussi, c'est un travail constant, tellement de choses, je sais pas, t'sais. Mais je vois ça comme un bon signe. Là, qu'est-ce qui se passe maintenant? Now we're gonna enjoy some of these from the Tim Horton, the Tim Horton. Mm. Mm. La moitié de chaque, half of each. Sounds full. Tim Hortons, Tim Hortons. They're not paying me for this. I don't get no subsidies. J'ai pas de commandite en ce moment. Pas de commandite, pas de commandite de personne. I don't know sponsors at the moment, but I'm open for business 24/7. Well, almost. Mm. Not bad at all. So that's how I take the Great North American Eclipse as a good omen. Je vois l'éclipse totale nord-américaine comme un bon signe. So that's how I interpret it. In that terms of bringing more harmony after years of difficulty, in terms of psychological, social, political, for North America, at least pour l'Amérique du Nord, au point de vue nord-américain, je vois ça comme un bon signe. And it's going to be the only eclipse that's going to be visible to all North American countries, Canada, US, Mexico, in the 21st century. The only one is going to be, and it hasn't been like this in Canada for more than 45 years. Wow. Oh, it's a flavor of this one's really good. Took different ones, but oh, it's really good. Ah. LOV, thank you, farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors. We love our firefighters, love our butchers, love our bakers, love our nurses, love our doctors, love our train conductors, love our daycare workers, love our nurses, love our electricians, love our plumbers, love our farmers, love our public workers. On les aime les travailleurs publics, on les aime les fermières, les infirmières, les enseignants, on les aime les pompiers, les travailleurs publics, les électriciens, les charpentiers, les travailleurs d'électricité, les enseignants, puis les. Vraiment, service public, puis bien sûr, les garderies, amour, 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 love, love, love. Good omen, great North American eclipse. See you soon. See you.